What's up, guys? It's Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some wide receiver versus DB one-on-one. So pretty much what I did here is I screen recorded 4 wide receiver versus DB one-on-one reps. I just picked a random clip off of YouTube. These are the first time I'm really watching these routes other than when we screen recorded it. So we're just going to kind of walk through. We got some good reps and bad reps, I'm assuming, from some wide receivers here, and we're just going to break this thing down. Hope this video helps you guys out and teaches you a few things just about how you guys can beat one-on-one man-to-man coverage. So again, hope this video helps you guys out, but also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to train with us this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below. We are traveling out to 3 more states across the U.S. for 2-day long QB and wide receiver training camp. So next up on our camp tour, we're going to be coming out to Nashville, Tennessee. Then we'll be in Salt Lake City, Utah, and then we'll be in Los Angeles, California. So if you guys are local to there, want to travel out, get some work in with us, check out that very first link below. Let's get started with this video. So this first route here, let's talk about it. I'm going to play it full speed, and then we're going to kind of break it down. So this looks like a corner route here from this wide receiver, maybe like a sail, like kind of a deep out. So I think the main key here is, like, obviously anytime that you guys got one-on-one coverage, you got to be able to identify the leverage. Anytime that, I'm putting together film, I'm looking at film to make videos for you guys, that's the first thing that I try to identify. How far off is the DB? Is he inside shade, outside shade? Is he head up? And what route do we have? And that's kind of how you guys should try to, maybe approach the film breakdown process on your own. When you're watching film of teams that you're going to play throughout the year, maybe you're scouting a team, whatever it is, to get familiar with the coverage that they like to run. So I think this play right here is honestly just a case of this wide receiver being just much, much faster than this DB. Because when you break down to it, he's running like a corner route, an outside breaking route, and this DB's lined up inside shade. What do we know that he has to do right here? We know that he has to attack his leverage. So if this wide receiver was facing a DB who is maybe a little bit more athletic, maybe a little bit faster, which he will face at the next level, and if you guys want to play at the next level, you're going to end up facing guys like that. The second you just attack that inside shoulder like this, he should get hands and he should squeeze him all the way to that sideline because he did nothing that threatened his leverage. Now, if he had to run like an inside breaking route, like if let's say it was a post, this would be perfect because he'd attack the inside shoulder of this DB. DB would open up his hips and we could just slip back underneath or work to restack. But honest to God, I think this is just a case of the wide receiver being faster. You guys should know that if we have that inside coverage, and let's say maybe you're not the fastest wide receiver, let's say maybe you just kind of have average speed, whatever it is, you would want to attack his leverage. Let's try to threaten him inside because we know that he's going to keep his leverage, and that creates a bigger window for us to the outside. So let's play this thing full speed, then we'll get to the next route. Maybe not the best example of this because, again, he's just straight up faster. Sometimes that's going to happen, and in high school and youth ball, fellas, you guys can get away with that. But when you guys play a top-level DB who's a good athlete, who has discipline, and he's not going to give that stuff up, you got to understand how to attack leverage. All right, so next clip right here. Let's watch this full speed. So this is that's a pretty good use of a throw by, and obviously he's working like a 10-yard out. So let's play this thing back. So I think, obviously, what were the first things we wanted to identify? Wanted to identify the leverage of the DB, how close or how far he is, pretty much just what kind of coverage is it. So we got head-up coverage right here. So this wide receiver decides to go with a dive release, okay? So a dive release is a great release to use against head-up coverage when you have an outside breaking route. So pretty much a dive is like the opposite of a diamond release, if you will. If anybody's familiar with this page and what we talk a lot about is like, talk about how to attack different kinds of leverages. If you had to run like a slant route and the DB was lined up inside shade, you'd do something called a diamond release where you would go 3 steps to the outside, attacking the outside shoulder, trying to get the DB to flip his hips and open so you could slip back underneath and run the slant. So a dive is the opposite. You're attacking the inside shoulder hard for maybe 2 to 3 steps. It doesn't have to be perfect, however many steps on this one, but I think he decides to go 3 steps here. Yeah, 1, 2, or it's more so like 2 steps. He goes here, 1, 2. Right, and breaks off of that second step and throws him by. Now, this is not a flag. It is within 5 yards. This is not a push-off. This is just pretty much wide receiver DB hand-to-hand combat. Now, this is a great job because when you guys go over the middle, you have to make sure that we are selling what? Probably drag, right? If this DB is going to open up his hips and run, I got to make sure I'm selling drag. Now, I think this wide receiver did a good job of running fast because that speed, being able to run in full stride, those are 2 key indicators to this DB that he's not taking an outside release. He's trying to cross your face right now. But one of the things I think he could have done a little bit better on is his pad level. So when he broke up into this route, you see how his pad level, his hips and his shoulders are still kind of drifting to the outside. That DB could have been a little bit more disciplined if his eyes weren't so high, if he wasn't looking at the wide receiver's head. If he was focused on the hips and he was focused on reading the body language of this wide receiver, he would probably stay a little bit more disciplined because this wide receiver is not fully committed. When you guys do this dive release, you got to make sure that your hips and your shoulders are turned to the inside like you are running a drag route or something where you have to cross the DB's face. If you give any indicator by drifting your shoulders and drifting your hips upfield, that is going to let this DB know that you are not trying to cross his face and you're going back outside. But pretty solid job overall. I like the throw by. I feel like the throw by kind of bailed him out right there for the poor pad level and body language, but great job running fast, great job running in full stride, and that is ultimately a big key thing that will get a DB to bite on your move. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time, and then we'll get to that next route. So now, next route, I'm not too sure what it is here. Okay, I think, let's see what he's running. He's running this kind of like comeback, out route, if you will. Obviously, not the best rep here. DB was able to make a great play on it. Let's see how deep this route is. It's about 5. Okay, this is like a 10-yard out. Okay, so when he's running this 10-yard out, one of the main keys, again, got to identify the leverage of the DB, got to identify how he is playing, right? So this DB's playing, I would say this looks like he's about head up, right? So if he's head up and you have to run this 10-yard out, I think main key is closing the distance, right? DB's probably sitting at about 10. We got to run a 10-yard out. The goal would be to close the space with him. Let's try to step on his toes, let's try to get him to backpedal out of there so I can get out of the break as quick as possible. Now, he gives on this route a huge indicator right before this break. He bursts up. Again, he starts to peek back, which I'm not mad at that move. But in the first time we played this, I noticed right before the break point, his eyes dropped. So when you're looking back, the whole goal of this peek back is to sell the fade. I'm trying to look over my shoulder to make that DB think I'm going deep, right? Now, I probably wouldn't do this at 5 yards because nobody runs a fade route looking back at 5 yards, number one. Now, I'm not saying that DB's probably thinking about that, but I think what made this DB know that the break point was going to be coming is that he looked back, then he looked down right before the break point. And nobody runs a fade like that. Nobody looks back and then looks down again, then looks back for that ball. So automatically, that DB knows that it's not going to be a fade route. So he's already coming to balance. He's already starting to slow down even before the break point. So that's one thing that this wide receiver could clean up. I don't even like him using the peek back right here. I would much rather have him like tuck his chin, sell vertical hard at this outside shoulder, if you will, or close the gap with him and break it off. But again, just because he looked back and then looked down, that kind of defeats the purpose of it. Now, when you guys are running like a speed out like so, maybe this, I would say this is more like an out route. It is very, very tough to get separation against a talented DB when you take more than one step. So you see how he kind of, it almost looks like he's snapping down on this, but when you guys run like a speed out and it's like off that like third inside step, it's like 8 to 10 yards, you got to be able to cut off a 1 foot. It's got to be a single speed cut because that cut has got to drive you out. That cut has got to give you so much explosion to that sideline because the QB is leading you and throwing before you even break. So when you start to kind of break down right here, all that does is give that DB extra time to recover. And if you guys are taking too much time at the break point and you guys are not selling vertical and dropping your eyes and giving those indicators, a DB will be all over it. That's easy work for him because he's playing a guessing game, fellas. And if we give him the answers to the test, if we show my hand before I make that break, that's easy work for him. Maybe he could have won this rep in 3 steps at the break point if we would have sold vertical a little bit harder and maybe a little bit longer. Let's play this thing again, full speed, one more time. Again, good example of you guys of just kind of seeing, what to do, what can go wrong on a route, and how you guys can get open. So now, last route I want to talk about here. This will be the last clip of today. I think this is a pretty good job of restacking. Great job finishing on the fade. I love that rep right there. So let's talk about this. So we make this move, I think, for him to get a little more separation off the line. Let me watch this one more time. There wasn't much of a move, right? He does a great job restacking and getting skinny on this thing, but there wasn't much of a move to the inside here. So when you have, again, he's inside shade. How we can tell he's inside shade is look where his left foot is. The middle of his body is even with the wide receiver's front foot. So that's how we know he's inside shade. So based on that assumption, or based on that, our knowledge, I shouldn't say assumption because he is, based on that knowledge, we know that he's trying to protect the inside. He does not want to give up the inside. So if he doesn't want to give up the inside, that's where I want to threaten him because I know that's what's going to move him. So off that line of scrimmage, what this wide receiver kind of does, he takes like a little choppy move. There's really not much of a sell inside. This is what a lot of wide receivers do. They try to rush the release, and that like fake that they throw inside, which would be this right foot, his body isn't going with the fake. Like that's not making anybody believe you're going inside. So if you guys, when you guys throw this fake, can maybe step a little bit harder inside, try to threaten him. I don't think he stepped super narrow. Maybe that's not a bad spot to be, but your upper half has got to go with that step because that's what that DB's looking at. He ain't looking at your feet. He ain't watching your ankles. He's watching your hips. So when you throw that fake inside and you step with that cut, you got to bring that upper half with the cut. You got to bring your whole body with it because that whole body going with the cut is what will make him think you're going inside and can get you space. But if we just kind of give a rushed cut, I'm trying to get up into the route too quick, that DB honestly will get hands and will squeeze you to that sideline. Now, this wide receiver does a great job of dipping that shoulder and getting skinny back into him, right? He doesn't just try to run away from him. I like that he tries to get skinny, and I like that he tries to get back into him because when you guys can get back into this DB, try the best we can to restack or just give yourself space to the sideline, that's a much easier throw for that QB. He actually has space to fade you now. But if you guys just try to run away from this DB and you're hugging that sideline, dude, that's such a hard throw for that quarterback. That's almost impossible for him. He's got to throw an absolutely perfect ball. So getting skinny, trying to restack the best we can, fighting the hands, that is a great job there and giving that QB space to throw us open. That is the number one key, and then a great job finishing on that fade, making that catch and looking that ball in. Again, maybe could have been a better release. That would have set him up. You got to make sure, fellas, we threaten this guy inside. Threaten him with the upper body. Try to step outside of his frame and actually threaten like you're crossing his face. That's the only way he will move in this case. When he's inside shade, the sideline is his help. He wants you to run outside so he could squeeze you to the sideline. But great job by this wide receiver getting skinny, dipping the shoulders so the QB has space to fade, and we still give ourselves a chance on this route. Let's play it again, full speed one more time. Great job getting skinny right there. Release could have been better, like we said, but great job finishing the rep and great job finishing the play. All right, fellas, I really hope this kind of video, you guys like this type of content where we just kind of break it down, you know, maybe 1-2 times seeing these different videos. So, like I said, if you guys have any kind of video feedback, you like this type of style, feel free to leave those suggestions in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. We read every comment, so we always appreciate you guys. And again, fellas, if you'd like to train with us, we are coming out to 3 different states this offseason for the remainder of the year. We're coming out to Nashville, Tennessee, Salt Lake City, Utah, and then Los Angeles, California. So check out that very first link below if you guys would like to get some work in with us this year. I'll see you guys next time.